I wasn't supposed to be at that dinner. The text slid across my phone screen like a knife through the polite clink of crystal glasses and forced laughter. When I pushed back from the mahogany table, everything I thought I knew about my perfect Willow Creek neighborhood began cracking wide open. Only I knew the truth. Either I walked out right then, or I'd wake up tomorrow with my bank account emptied and my house sold out from under me in the very subdivision I once called home. The other board members smiled like old friends. The HOA president refilled my untouched water glass again. And somewhere in the cul-de-sac, a man who used to date the president was trying to save my life. My name is Emily Harper, and I hadn't spoken to the Willow Creek HOA board in 4 months. Not since the last time they hit me with a $3,800 fine for non-compliant mailbox hardware that was literally one shade off regulation beige. The invitation came on a Tuesday while I was debugging code in my home office. Barb Whitaker's voice floated through the speaker, all sugar and saccharin. Emily dear, we're hosting a little harmony dinner this Saturday at my place. Just the board and a few special residents like you. Pot roast, my famous one. We really want to put all that unpleasantness behind us. Unpleasantness. That was her word for the $47,000 I'd quietly paid in fines over 5 years because fighting the HOA was supposedly worse than bleeding cash. I stare at my monitor, watching lines of code blur. 15 years in this cul-de-sac, I'd been the reliable one. The one who paid every citation without complaint. The one who trimmed her lawn to exactly 2.5 inches, the one who never hung a political flag, the one who replaced her driveway pavers when they said the color was too warm. Every time they'd smiled and said, community standards, Emily. Rules are rules. Emily, sweetheart, you still there? Barcode. I'm here. So, Saturday, 6 sharp? We miss your smiling face. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Every instinct screamed decline. But something in her tone, too, rehearsed too sweet, made me curious. What game are they running now? Sure, I'll be there. Saturday arrived gray and drizzling exactly the way the HOA preferred tasteful weather. I parked outside Barb's McMansion, the one with the 3-story fountain and the American flag that somehow never faded. Same perfectly edged lawn. Same hidden security cameras. Same suffocating feeling in my chest. Barb answered the door in her signature pearls and pastel cardigan smile, stretched too wide. There's my favorite resident. Come in. You look tired, working too hard again. The house smelled of pot roast and something sharper. The board's collective perfume mixed with anticipation. Linda Hargrove, the vice president, emerged from the kitchen wearing the exact blouse I'd seen her buy with HOA event funds last Christmas. Emily, God, we've missed you. The hug lasted 3 seconds, too long, her fingers digging like she was checking for hidden wires. We sat at the long dining table, everything staged like a magazine shoot. Good china, fresh flowers, cloth napkins that Barb only used when she wanted something. The other 2 board members missed her. Ellis, the treasurer, and Mrs. Delgado, the secretary, kept refilling my water glass, though I hadn't touched it. So, Emily, Barb began slicing the roast. How's that tech job? Still at the same firm? Same place, same projects. You always were the smart one, Linda chimed in, voice dripping syrup. Remember when you helped us rewrite those bylaws last year? We never would have passed the new fence height rule without you. The conversation flowed, perfectly crafted reminders of how helpful I'd been. But their eyes kept darting. Silent signals I wasn't meant to catch. Barb's hands trembled slightly, passing the green beans. Mister. Ellis checked his watch twice. More water. Linda lifted the pitcher again. I'm fine, really. Everything felt choreographed. The seating, Linda to my left, pouring drinks, Barb across from me, steering talk, mister. Ellis at the head, watching like a hawk. 15 years of patterns suddenly snapped into focus. Every HOA mediation meeting, where I'd left feeling strangely exhausted. Every time I'd woken up fuzzy-headed after a board visit, my checkbook mysteriously lighter. Small voluntary contributions I'd blamed on my own forgetfulness. How many times had they done this? My phone sat face down beside my plate. In 34 years, I'd never received an HOA dinner invitation that felt this wrong. The room smelled of rosemary and roasted meat, and something underneath pure calculation. They were waiting for something. And at 6:43 p.m., I found out what. I just taken a tiny bite of roast when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. The preview showed only 2 words. Get up. My throat tightened. I flipped the phone over trying to focus on Mr. Ellis's story about the neighbor's fence, but the buzz had changed the air. Linda's laugh came a beat too late. Barb's fork scraped her plate. Everything okay, dear? Barb asked, eyes locked on my phone. Just work? I smiled, reaching for it. Let me check. Emily, Barb's voice carried a new edge. No phones at the table. House rules. House rules. Since when? My thumb unlocked anyway. Get up and leave. Don't say anything. They put something in your water. Trust me. I read it twice. My mind raced. Who the hell was this? I need the bathroom, I said, standing. Chair scraped. Be right back. Their eyes followed me down the hallway. In the powder room, I locked the door and typed back. Who is this? 3 dots. Then Ryan Caldwell. Barb's ex. Please trust me. Rohypnol. Tasteless. They need your banking login for the settlement. They've done this before. Ryan. The quiet former treasurer who'd quit the board 8 months ago after one too many creative accounting sessions with Barb. I met him twice at block parties. Quiet guy. Sharp eyes. How do you know? She called me last night drunk bragging. Said you had it coming for threatening to sue over the fines. The drink makes you compliant. They'll suggest you rest, then get your thumbprint while you're out. Madison, wait, Linda knows your pattern. You always use fingerprint for everything. My stomach dropped. Had I sipped the water? I couldn't remember. Mouth dry, but that could be terror. What do I do? Leave now. Make an excuse. Get to your car. Don't confront. They'll deny, and you have 0 proof. Yet. That word landed like a promise. Emily, sweetie, you okay in there? Barb's voice through the door, syrupy concern. 1 minute. I called, voice steady. I stared at my reflection. Same dark hair, same tired eyes. But something had shifted. The compliant neighbor, the cash cow, the quiet payer. She was already gone. In her place stood someone who finally saw the game. Ryan sent one more. If you want proof, pretend it's working. Protect yourself first. Change every password now. My fingers flew. Banking app, biometrics disabled. 2-factor upgraded. Security questions rewritten. Investment accounts, retirement, everything locked behind codes they'd never guess. Even my HOA portal login nuked. A knock rattled the door. Emily, you feeling all right? Linda this time. Coming. I flushed, ran the sink, splashed my face. Opened the door. Linda stood there, smile, not reaching her eyes. You sure? You look a little pale. Something I ate at lunch, probably. I moved past her. She followed, too close, perfume thick. Back at the table, my water glass had been topped off again. Fresh ice, innocent as poison. I sat down, mind racing through every past tired night after board visits. You're shaking, dear, Barb observed, reaching across. Have some water. It'll help. Water. Always water. The pattern crystallized. Every mediation where I'd felt dizzy. Every time I'd discovered surprise donations transferred from my account after dinners. Every time they'd cooed, you were too hard, Emily. Maybe see a doctor about these memory lapses. Gaslighting wrapped in community spirit. Remember when you paid for the new welcome sign? Linda was saying, voice pulling me back. $10,000 just because you cared so much. I remembered. I've been saving for a new roof. They'd cried about budget shortfalls. Posted before and after photos while I ate ramen for 6 months. You were always there for the neighborhood, Mr. Ellis added, tone heavy. Community first, right? Community first. Their favorite weapon. I thought of every promotion I'd missed because I was busy fighting citations. Every date that ended when I had to run to another emergency board meeting. Every neighbor who'd moved away broken by the same machine. You've done so much for us, Barb said, voice thick with fake emotion. We've been so blessed. Blessed. Like I was an ATM, not a person. Actually, I said, settling back. I'm feeling a little dizzy. The room changed instantly. 3 pairs of eyes, sharpened bodies leaning forward like sharks smelling blood. Maybe you should rest on the sofa, Linda suggested quickly. You look pale. I blinked slowly, letting my words slur just enough. Work's been crazy. Come on, mister. Ellis stood already. Let's get you comfortable. They helped me up, hands everywhere. Linda on my elbow, Barb on my back, mister. Ellis gripping my shoulder like pallbearers. My phone heavy in my pocket, already recording. The living room sofa had a blanket and pillow ready. How thoughtful. How premeditated. I sank in, letting my eyes flutter. Just rest, Barb cooed, brushing hair from my face. We'll be right here. I counted seconds between breaths. Through slitted eyes, I watched them hover. 5 minutes. 10. Is she out? Linda whispered. Mister. Ellis waved a hand in front of my face. I stayed limp. Get her phone, he ordered. Linda's fingers slipped into my pocket. They huddled around it like vultures. Screen lit, their greedy faces. Try her thumb, Barb hissed. Linda grabbed my hand, pressed it to the sensor. Nothing. Again. Still locked. She changed it, Linda muttered. Try the passcode, mister. Ellis snapped. Birthday. No, she's smarter. Frustration built with every failed attempt. I counted, memorized every desperate word. 20 minutes of them trying password security questions, even my unconscious face for facial recognition. The phone stayed a fortress. Finally, Linda slammed it down. This is useless. She locked everything. She couldn't have, Barb insisted. She doesn't know. Then explain why nothing works. Linda's voice cracked. I need that money. You promised this would be easy. They turned on each other. Accusations flew. How many other residents they'd done this to. How they'd forged violation photos. How they'd embezzled HOA dues into personal accounts. How they'd spiked drinks at past mediation dinners to force homeowners to sell cheap or sign away complaints. I lay perfectly still, recording every confession, every admission, every name of every broken neighbor. The evidence piled higher than the fines they'd stolen from me. The whispers grew uglier. Remember the Parkers? Mister. Ellis hissed. We got them to sell for $30,000 under market after that little cocktail hour. Or the Millers, Linda added. Grandma Miller woke up thinking she'd signed the quitclaim deed herself. Dementia, they said. We cleaned her equity nice and quiet. Barb's voice turned sharp. This was supposed to be clean. She's the last big one. $47,000 in fines already paid, and she was threatening to sue. We need her signature on the settlement tonight, or the state investigation starts. State investigation. That was new. So my quiet lawyer letters had actually landed. She changed everything, Linda whined. We can't get in. Well, whose fault is that? Mister. Ellis turned on Barb. You said she always used biometric. You said this would be simple. It always worked before. Before. Confirmation. How many dinners had ended with residents unconscious and robbed of equity signatures or voluntary transfers? Check her purse, Barb ordered. Maybe she wrote passwords somewhere. Linda dumped my bag on the coffee table. License cards, receipts, scattered like crime scene evidence. Nothing. We could try the security questions, mister. Ellis suggested. First pet. Mister. Fluff. All 3 said in unison. They knew my childhood cat's name, but not that I'd grown beyond their control. The irony burned sweet. For another 15 minutes, they spiraled. Trying laptop in my car, which Linda had already searched while I was in the bathroom. Trying email resets. Arguing whose idea the Rohypnol had been. This is your fault, Barb snapped at Linda. You pushed the last fine too hard. She was ready to go public. I was desperate, Linda shot back. The HOA account is empty because you two spent it on that Vegas trip you called research. Don't compare me to your gambling, mister. Ellis growled. You're the one who forged the violation photos. Years of resentment spilled out. Barb's obsession with being president. Linda's string of failed side businesses funded by community money. Mister. Ellis's quiet siphoning of dues. The picture was uglier than I'd imagined. A board that had treated the entire neighborhood as their personal piggy bank for a decade. She was supposed to take care of the rest of us, Barb said, voice cracking. That's what good residents do. No, Linda corrected coldly. That's what Emily does. Did. Past tense. We killed the golden goose. We haven't killed anything, mister. Ellis insisted. When she wakes, we gaslight. Say the dizziness was stress. Offer to waive the next fine. She'll doubt herself like always. Bold after drugging her, Linda laughed bitterly. It's not drugging, it's managing the narrative, Barb snapped. They debated more desperate plans. Fake a medical emergency. Claim a prankster spiked the picture. Pretend nothing happened and hope I'd blame my own anxiety. Finally, exhausted, they settled back around the dining table. Glasses clinked now with something stronger than water. My phone kept recording battery icon dropping, but still plenty left. Around 8:30, I started my slow performance of waking. Small groan, fingers twitching, eyes fluttering. She's coming around, Linda called. 3 sets of footsteps hurried in. How are you feeling, sweetheart? Barb's face appeared concerned, painted thick as her makeup. Tired, I mumbled, sitting up slowly. What happened? You just got a little dizzy, mister. Ellis said smoothly. Stress from work, probably. We moved you to the sofa. I touched my head, feigning confusion. I don't remember lying down. They exchanged relieved glances. The gaslighting script was ready. You've been pushing yourself too hard, Linda cooed, settling beside me. We've all been worried. Really? I looked at each, letting just enough vulnerability show. I should probably head home. I don't feel right. Of course, Barb said quickly. Let me get your things. She returned with my purse, everything neatly repacked, as if it hadn't been ransacked. My phone sat on top, wiped clean of fingerprints. Thanks for dinner, I said, standing on shaky legs I didn't actually feel. Sorry I wasn't better company. Don't apologize, mister. Ellis said, hand on my back, guiding me to the door. Community is family. We understand. At the threshold, I turned. They stood framed in the doorway, perfect portrait of concerned neighbors. Norman Rockwell would have gagged. I appreciate everything you've done for the neighborhood, I said, meaning it in a way they'd never understand. I appreciated who they used to pretend to be. Those people were dead. We love you, Emily, they chorused. Linda stepped forward for one last hug, whispering, take care of yourself. Maybe see a doctor about these dizzy spells. We worry. Even the goodbye was professional gaslighting. I walked to my car, maintaining the groggy act. Only after 2 blocks did I pull over and stop the recording. 2 hours, 17 minutes of pure confession. Hands shaking, I saved it to 3 cloud services, emailed a copy to my lawyer, and set an emergency share with my assistant. The drive home felt like shedding skin. My apartment, technically still inside Willow Creek, but my private fortress, welcomed me. I poured real wine, untouched by their hands, and sat with a legal pad. File police report. Contact lawyer, restraining order. Change every password again. Install cameras. Warn the other victims, Ryan mentioned. Thank Ryan. That last one made me pause. Ryan, who'd risked everything to warn a near stranger. His text had saved more than money. It saved the last scrap of faith I had in community. I typed thank you. I'm safe. Got all recorded. His reply came instantly. Good. They've done this to 7 other homeowners. The Parkers, the Millers, old missus. Langston, they kept journals. I know where Barb hides them. 7. And Mrs. Langston, who died last year, convinced she was losing her mind. The rage that filled me was clean surgical. Will they testify? I asked. Most will. You're the first with audio. Can we meet tomorrow? Bring everything. 10 a.m. Coffee shop on Maple. Julia, I'm sorry I didn't warn you sooner. I loved her once. Thought I could fix the board. You warned me when it counted. That's enough. I set the phone down and looked around my home. Books, furniture, life I'd built despite their constant drain. Tomorrow I'd walk into the police station with enough evidence to bury them. Tonight, I mourn the neighborhood I'd never actually had. The Willow Creek Police Department lobby was quiet Sunday morning. I pushed through the doors at 9:15, laptop bag heavy. I need to report attempted assault and fraud, I told the desk sergeant. I was drugged without consent last night. I have evidence. Her eyes sharpened. Minutes later, I sat with Detective Morales, a woman who looked like she'd heard every HOA horror story twice. Start from the beginning. I told her everything. The invitation, Ryan's warning, the spiked water, the recording. When I played the audio, their voices filled the room. Confessions of drugging, forging signatures, embezzling, dues, ruining lives. Detective Morales leaned back. This is felony territory. Assault, fraud, conspiracy, elder abuse, if we include the seniors. You said there are other victims? Ryan's bringing documentation at 10. Journals, financial records from at least 7 others. She nodded. Recording is gold, but we'll need corroboration. No talks in your system, since he didn't drink, but the pattern plus testimony will carry. Ryan arrived right on time, carrying a box of spiral notebooks, photos, printed emails. Barb's trophy case evidence she'd kept like souvenirs. Detective, this is Ryan Caldwell, former treasurer. His evidence was devastating. Screenshots of Barb bragging about compliant residents. Photos of Linda posing with luxury bags bought after each big score. Mrs. Langston's journal's heartbreaking entries. Another dizzy spell after board dinner. Woke missing $8,200 from savings. They say I must have spent it. Maybe I'm losing it. Detective Morales studied one dated 3 years ago. She filed a report once. Withdrew it the next day. They convinced her she was senile. That's what they do, I said. Make you doubt yourself. We spent 3 hours building the case. Other victims agreed to statements via phone. Patterns emerged. Fines always after dinners, always just under reporting thresholds. Death by 1,000 citations digitally documented. I'll bring them in today, Detective Morales finally said. With this, the DA will file immediately. Conspiracy, assault, fraud. They're looking at serious time. I thought of them still at home, probably sipping coffee, planning their next mediation. No idea the walls were closing. There's more, Ryan said, pulling his phone. Barb's been texting me all morning, panicking about Emily changing passwords, asking if I warned her. Detective Morales smiled grimly. Keep those coming. Let her bury herself. We left at 12:30. Outside, Ryan turned to me, exhaustion clear. I should have spoken sooner. I just thought I could change them. You can't fix people who don't want fixing, I said. But you did the right thing when it mattered. He nodded, walked to his car. I sat in mine a moment, phone buzzing with 47 missed calls from board members. I deleted them all and drove home. By evening, the arrests would hit. By tomorrow, the local news would run. Willow Creek, HOA board arrested for drugging residents in power grab. By next week, more victims would come forward. But right now, I had one last thing. I opened the HOA group chat they used for loving invitations. I know what you did. All of it. Police know too. Don't contact me again. Then I blocked every number and drove home to the life they tried to steal. The arrests happened at 6:47 p.m. That's Sunday. Detective Morales called with details. Barb was in her kitchen rearranging the same crystal she'd used to serve poison water when they knocked. She went quiet, shoulders slumped like a queen who'd always known the revolution was coming. Linda tried to run out the back door, caught halfway through her award-winning rose garden. Mr. Ellis fought longest, screaming about misunderstandings until they played the recording. Then he went silent, calculating his next lie from the back of the cruiser. They were processed, held overnight. Monday's arraignment was swift. The judge, after reviewing the audio journals and financial trails, set bail at $100,000 each. None could pay. The neighbors they'd robbed over the years weren't lining up to help. I didn't attend. Instead, I went to work, answered emails, attended meetings. Normal life felt surreal. My coworkers had no idea that while they complained about traffic, my entire HOA board sat in county lockup. The calls started Tuesday, not from them. They couldn't under the emergency restraining order, but from their friends, distant residents, former allies. How could you do this to Barb? She only wanted what was best for the neighborhood. Couldn't you forgive? It's just a few rules. I changed my number. Local news picked it up Wednesday. Willow Creek HOA president and board arrested for drugging homeowners to steal equity. They used Barb's own social media photos, her smiling in designer sunglasses, holding champagne glasses bought with embezzled dues. Comment sections exploded. More victims surfaced. Turns out the board had run smaller scams on dozens. The pyramid was collapsing. Ryan testified to the grand jury Thursday. So did 3 other former residents and 2 cousins of Mrs. Langston I'd never known existed. The prosecutor called me that afternoon. With the recording and pattern, the DA is offering pleas. Barb 15 years, Linda 12, Mr. Ellis 10. They'll serve half with good behavior. But it's still the strongest HOA fraud case this county has ever seen. It felt both too long and not long enough for what they'd stolen. Not just money, but peace, dignity, the simple joy of coming home without fear. Friday morning, I met my lawyer to lock down assets against any desperate civil suits from prison. He assured me the evidence made it impossible, but I'd learned to be thorough. That afternoon, I visited Mrs. Langston's grave for the first time since her funeral. The headstone read, "Beloved neighbor." Felt like a lie now. She died believing the board was helping her through senior moments, not causing them. "I'm sorry," I told the granite. "I should have seen it sooner. Should have protected you." Sorry didn't bring back her final years or the retirement they drained. All I could do was make sure they faced consequences. The plea deals came through 2 weeks later. They admitted everything to avoid trial. The drugging, the forgeries, the decade-long conspiracy. Barb got 14 years, eligible for parole in 7. Linda 12 and 6. Mr. Ellis 10 and 5. The judge called it a betrayal of the most basic trust that exists between neighbors. They were transferred to separate facilities across the state. I heard Barb cried when she realized they wouldn't even have each other. Proceeds from selling Barb's McMansion went to victim restitution. Mrs. Langston's family received enough for the therapy they'd needed. Other victims recovered portions of lost equity. The house where they'd planned their schemes now funded healing. I never visited them in prison. Never read the letters sent through lawyers. Never answered reporters asking if I forgave. Some stories don't end with tearful reconciliations. Sometimes the best revenge is simply refusing to be a victim anymore. 3 months later, I sat in my living room secure and at peace. My bank accounts protected by passwords they'd never guess. My doors had locks they'd never breach. My life had boundaries they'd never cross again. Ryan and I became friends, bonded by the strange experience of exposing people we'd once trusted. He started dating a teacher who'd never heard of Willow Creek. I focused on work, earned the promotion I'd been too distracted to chase, and learned to trust my instincts again. The neighborhood I'd mourned never existed. But the life I built without it, that was real. That was mine. And that was the best revenge of all. Not just surviving their betrayal, but thriving beyond it. They took 5 years of my money. I took the rest of their freedom. Sometimes when new neighbors ask about the old board, I tell them the truth. We had an HOA once. It's gone now. Cleaner than explaining I helped send them to prison. More honest than pretending they ever truly cared about community standards. The quiet resident who would have paid another fine for a polite smile died at that dinner table. The woman who survived knows better now. Community isn't rules. It's trust. And once that trust is broken, all you have left is evidence and consequences. They taught me that. It's the only valuable lesson they ever gave. But the story didn't end with the pleas. The real satisfaction came in the slow unraveling that followed. First, the state attorney general opened a full investigation into every HOA in the county. Turns out Willow Creek wasn't unique, just the sloppiest. 3 other boards quietly dissolved rather than face similar recordings. Homeowners who'd been silent for years suddenly found their voices. Petitions circulated to rewrite state HOA laws limiting fines and requiring body cams at meetings. Black humor at its finest. The same Karens who'd screamed about anarchy now beg for mercy under the very rules they'd weaponized. I started getting messages from strangers. Your story gave me courage to fight my own HOA. I recorded my board too. Thank you. Each one felt like another brick in the wall they could never climb again. Ryan and I met for coffee every few weeks, swapping updates like war veterans. Barb tried to call me from prison. He laughed one afternoon. Said I owed her for all the good times. I hung up and blocked the prison number. We toasted with plain black coffee, no water involved. The neighborhood itself transformed. New management company took over. Fines dropped 90%. People actually talked to each other instead of reporting each other. Kids played in the street again without citations for excessive joy. The absurd rules that had turned neighbors into enemies faded like a bad dream. But the sweetest moment came 6 months later when the restitution checks arrived. Mine was modest, $47, $312, exactly the total they'd stolen over the years. I stared at the number for a long time, then deposited it into a new account labeled Freedom Fund. That evening, I did something I hadn't done since moving in. I planted a bright red rosebush right next to my mailbox. The old regulations had banned non-neutral colors. The new ones didn't care. I took a photo and posted it in the neighborhood app with the caption, "Sometimes the best compliance is none at all." The comments poured in. Laughing emojis, thumbs up, even a few, finally. No one reported me. No one dared. Barb's daughter, yes, she had one who'd moved away years ago, reached out once. Mom says you ruined her life. I replied with a single screenshot of the recording timestamped at the moment Barb admitted drugging Mrs. Langston. No words needed. The daughter never wrote back. Life settled into a rhythm I'd forgotten existed. I worked from home without glancing over my shoulder for inspectors. I hosted actual block parties with real laughter. I even dated again, someone who thought HOAs were funny instead of terrifying. One night Ryan called. "You see the news?" I hadn't. He sent the link. Former Willow Creek HOA president appeals sentence. Claims entrapment by resident. The article included Barb's mugshot next to my old driver's license photo. Headline: HOA Karen says victim set her up. I laughed so hard I cried. The comments underneath were merciless. She drugged people and now cries entrapment? Next she'll sue the water company. Karen finally met someone smarter. I screenshotted the funniest ones and sent them to Ryan. Justice has a sense of humor after all. He replied, "She taught us the rules. We just played by them better." The appeal was denied 3 weeks later. The judge cited the overwhelming audio evidence of premeditation. Barb would serve every day. Sometimes late at night, I still replay the recording. Not for revenge, though that's there, but to remember how close I came. How one text from an unlikely ally flipped the script. How silence and patience beat screaming and suing. The board had built their empire on fear and fines. I tore it down with a locked phone and a quiet I know. And the best part? Every new resident who moves into Willow Creek now gets the same welcome packet. Inside is a printed copy of a news article. Management insists, just so everyone understands our new standards. Rules are rules. But now the rules protect people instead of predators. I walk my dog past Barb's old mansion, now a community center for actual community events, and smile at the irony. The fountain still runs, but kids splash in it without citations. The lawn is sometimes 2 inches too long, and nobody cares. Freedom looks a lot like a slightly messy suburb. And every time I see a new for sale sign, I think the same thing. Another neighbor who won't have to learn the hard way. Because one quiet resident decided enough was enough. The girl who paid every fine for a polite smile died at that dinner table. The woman who survived? She planted red roses and never looked back. 3 years later, the story still echoes. I'm sitting on my porch, same house, same street, watching kids ride bikes without fear of fines. The new HOA is basically a book club that votes on park upgrades. No one calls it an association anymore. They call it the neighbors. Ryan and his fiancée stop by sometimes. We laugh about the old days like they're ancient history instead of recent trauma. Remember when Barb thought pearls made her untouchable? He'll say. We clink coffee mugs and shake our heads. My promotion turned into a director role. I bought the house next door just to rent it to a young family at half market rate. Pay it forward, I told them. They have no idea the previous owner's schemes funded their backyard playset. Occasionally reporters still call. Any comment on the upcoming documentary? I always give the same answer, tell the truth. Then tell people to record everything. The documentary dropped last month. The water pitcher plot. How one HOA Karen almost got away with it. My voice is anonymized, but everyone in Willow Creek knows. The opening scene is a wide shot of the neighborhood at golden hour, exactly like the thumbnail that started all. View counts are in the millions. Comment sections full of other victims sharing their own stories. This happened in my complex too. Thank you for giving us the courage. Each one feels like another layer of armor around every quiet homeowner who's ever been bullied by a pearl necklace tyrant. Barb's parole hearing is next year. Her lawyer sent me a letter begging for a character reference. I replied with a single attachment, the full 2-hour recording. No note. I heard the hearing was postponed indefinitely. Linda and Mr. Ellis took plea deals for early release, but the restitution orders follow them forever. Every paycheck, they'll see a chunk disappear to the victim's fund. Poetic. The money they stole now pays for therapy for the people they broke. I kept one souvenir. The original water glass from that night, rescued by police as evidence. It sits on my shelf next to the restitution check framed. A reminder that sometimes the clearest poison comes in the prettiest packaging. Every spring, I throw a block party. Real food, real music, no hidden agendas. Last year, someone asked what happened to the old board. I just smiled and said they learned that rules work both ways. The kids don't know the story yet. One day they will. And when they do, they'll understand that standing up doesn't always mean screaming. Sometimes it means sitting still, recording everything and letting the truth do the screaming for you. My phone buzzes. New neighbor moving in next week. Wants to know about the HO. I type back the same thing I tell everyone now. We don't have one anymore. We just have each other. Then I attach the news article. Just in case. Because the lesson isn't only for Karens. It's for every resident who's ever stayed silent too long. Speak up. Lock your accounts. Hit record. And when they pour the water, smile politely and wait. Justice tastes better cold. Thank you for listening to my story. I'd love to know where you're watching from. Drop a comment below and let's connect. If this HOA Karen nightmare resonated with you, please subscribe and share your own experiences. Your stories keep these takedowns alive. Until next time, stay safe, lock your doors, and never trust a refill glass.